contra-rotating propellers, in which two propellers in line with each other turn in opposite directions. This makes the propellers more efficient and provides more power than one single propeller. On our left, we'll pass some of our long-range bombers. Long-range strategic bombing was developed during World War I as a way to attack industrial and military targets far away from the front lines of battle. The small and ineffective raids of World War I gave way to the huge air battles of World War II, with thousands of aircraft battling through the skies of Europe and Asia. The development of the atomic bomb at the end of World War II gave new importance to developing even larger and longer-range bombers. The first of the post-war bombers to enter service with the U.S. Air Force is the giant plane to the left of the tram, the B-36 Peacemaker. With a wingspan of 230 feet, it is the largest bomber to ever serve with the U.S. Air Force, and it used 6 of the most powerful piston engine ever developed. The B-36 was the last propeller-driven strategic bomber used by the United States. They went into service in 1949, but were already becoming obsolete, and their replacements first flew just 3 years later in 1952. Coming up next on our left is the B-52 Stratofortress. This one is named Valkyrie. It's painted in the brown and gray camouflage. This is a later version of the B-52 that was introduced in 1959 and flew till 1994. This plane on display at the museum served in the '91 Gulf War with Iraq and participated in what was, at the time, the longest combat mission flown in history. In January of '91, this plane and several others flew from Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana non-stop to Iraq and back, launching cruise missiles at targets near Baghdad. In all, the planes were refueled 4 times in the air and flew for a total of 35 hours before landing. Now, I do like to point out there were 3 crews on board who rotated through during that mission, but that is still a really, really long time to be in an airplane. The next B-52 on display is the B-52D. This one is called the Lone Star Lady, painted with the black bottom. This version began flying in 1956, and it was the main version used during the Vietnam War. They were painted this way at the time with the green camouflage on top and black on the bottom because many of their missions over North Vietnam were flown at nighttime. The last B-52 left the assembly line in 1962. Today, 58 of them remain in active service with the U.S. Air Force, and with planned engine modifications, could be used into the 2050s. On our right, we have a collection of foreign aircraft. Aircraft represented here were built in China, France, Germany, Great Britain, Poland, and the Soviet Union. They consist of trainers, fighters, and fighter bombers. Poland's Gnat is the green plane to our right. It was developed as a trainer for the British Royal Air Force in the 1950s. There we go, 1950s. This one is the 4th of 6 prototypes built and tested before the aircraft went into production. The Gnat served as the primary fast jet trainer for the Royal Air Force until 1979. Next to the Gnat, we have the Alpha Jet. The Alpha Jet represents Europe's answer to the expanding cost of developing military aircraft in the 1970s. They were developed as a joint venture by aircraft manufacturers in France and West Germany. This one carries the markings of the West German Luftwaffe, where they were used as close air support fighter bombers. They were also used as trainers in the French Air Force. Most Western European military aircraft since then have been developed as part of collaborations between 2 or more countries, thus spreading the development costs among the various nations and ensuring a larger number of aircraft sales in the process. On our right, we'll pass our Soviet-designed jet fighters. The earliest and first on the row with 038 painted on the nose is a 2-seat MiG-15 trainer dating from the 1950s. All of the aircraft that we're passing in this row were designed in the Soviet Union. However, many of the museum's examples were actually built in China or Poland. The most recent MiG that the museum has in its collection is the plane at the end of the row to your right. That is a MiG-29 that was introduced in the late 1980s. To our left, we'll see the majority of the museum's collection of helicopters. Initially developed in the 1930s, helicopters were designed or are designed to take off and land vertically, eliminating the need for large open areas. They have found extensive use in the military, carrying troops and cargo, and as armed gunships. Civilian operators have also found them valuable for many different jobs, including law enforcement, search and rescue, air ambulances, firefighting, and cargo shipments. We'll take a closer look at the green helicopter with the red cross on the nose. That is a Bell UH-1 Iroquois, better known as the Huey. The Huey was introduced by the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War, and because of their extensive use in that conflict, where more than 7,000 of them were deployed, became one of the symbols of American involvement in the war. This one is marked as a medical evacuation aircraft responsible for taking wounded servicemen from the battlefield to hospital. The use of these helicopters saved the lives of many servicemen who would have died before they could reach treatment had the medevac helicopters not been available. The largest heavy lift helicopters that was developed for the U.S. Army is on our right and is known as the Sky Crane. In the 1960s, the Army was looking for a heavy lift helicopter capable of carrying large objects such as artillery pieces and small vehicles and large amounts of other cargo. This helicopter is capable of carrying 27,000 pounds. Since their retirement from the military in the early 90s, the Sky Crane has seen extensive use fighting forest fires and in the logging and construction industries. The last helicopter that we'll look at is the orange and white one to our left. This might look a little bit familiar from the tram tour and is a pretty special one in the museum's collection. This is the Bell HH-1N Iroquois, generally referred to as the Twin Huey, because they were upgraded to have 2 engines and a larger cabin than the earlier Huey we saw a few minutes ago. This helicopter served as a VIP transport for the U.S. Marine Corps, and in May of '87, it served as Marine One when it carried President Ronald Reagan during the G7 summit in Venice, Italy. In 1990, it was converted to HH-1N. The VIP interior was removed, and it was assigned to the Marine Corps Air Base in Yuma, Arizona. For the next 30 years, it worked as a search and rescue helicopter for both military gunnery ranges and civilian rescues in the immediate area, until it was retired in 2020. I want want to thank you for riding the tram here at Pima Air Space Museum, and also let you know that we operate the Titan Missile Museum in Green Valley, Arizona. That gives you a chance to take a tour down into the silo and see the Titan II missiles. Thanks so much for riding. Enjoy the rest of your visit and stay hydrated.
Meow.